All right, this is a redo of the show from earlier today, and it's because the quality of the internet was so bad. So let's talk about it again. See if we can nail it a second time. And for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, roll tide, man. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about Alabama ranked 8th nationally right now in recruiting with only 5 commits. Are you concerned about that, or is Alabama in good shape? Alabama topped the SEC in donations. What does that mean to the football program? And Alabama finishes number 1 in the SEC, and they beat Harvard to finish 2nd nationally in academic progress rate. I think that is fantastic. All that and more right here on the Bama Tailgate Show. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, roll tide, everybody. Let's see if we can get it right the second time. And this is how much we care. If it's not good enough, we'll scrap it and we'll do it again. Do it again. Roll tide. All right, roll tide, everybody. Mick Gillespie, and it's great to see you guys on the Bama Tailgate Show. Hopefully much better internet this time. When you do the videos, you don't always know the quality because it looks good on here, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, wait a second. You know, people start saying, hey, you're hard to see, or, you know, your mouth isn't moving at the same time as your, as your lips. And I said, it's time to fix this. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. So we're going to do it over again. And we're going to talk about, first off, about Alabama recruiting. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about Alabama recruiting was this right here. On3 Recruits, they put this on their Twitter page. I love it. It's a graphic that has the top 25 in recruiting. And there's Alabama number 8. And a lot of you guys have been concerned about Alabama because of the fact that they only have 5 commitments. 1 5-star, 4 4-stars. But that's still good enough right now for 8th best. Now, what's crazy is you look at USC, they've got a recruiting class of 28 commitments right now. 2 5-stars, 15 4-stars, 3 10-stars. You know, they obviously have gone out and tried to fix a lot of problems that they had. They had some spots. You're seeing a lot of the other teams, though, particularly in the SEC and big recruiting teams, lay back more on the recruiting. LSU's number 2. They've got 9 recruits. Ohio State has 13. Notre Dame has 15, so that has them at 3 and 4. Oregon, 8. Georgia, 9. And I mean, look, Bama's still way behind when in the number of recruits, but Tennessee's 12 and Auburn's 13. They only have 7. And the reason why I think this is happening right now is I feel like that these schools with the NIL are basically trying to make sure that the people that they sign up are really going to come and be a part of the program. And I think that's a legitimate concern because, you go and you do all this work and then all of a sudden signing day comes and somebody pays you more. But paying wasn't part of the program up until obviously things changed when the Supreme Court made it legal to do this. And then the NCAA really had no teeth when it comes to having any kind of restrictions. So it's the Wild West. And it's really unfair to the programs. It's unfair to the teams. And I've appreciated guys like Charles Barkley that say, hey, you know what? I'm not contributing to this because watching a guy, I'm going to pay this guy to come to school. He's not even going to play. And then the next year he's going to transfer after he took the money. It definitely bothers me. And it bothers the coaches too, I'm sure. The way that you get around it is you got to make sure that the players that you're bringing in are definitely committed to being in the program. And I think that could be why schools like Alabama are sitting back and going, we want to make sure that we get the most out of the players that we're getting. Not just the NIL money, but the commitment to come to Tuscaloosa and be part of the program. Kalen DeBoer has talked a lot about culture and wanting the right guys in the culture. I think that's important. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why is that he is a very laid back guy. And he's going to do it totally different than Saban. He's not going to be, riding guys for a lack of a better word like Saban. Saban was a great coach, but you can get there other ways too. But you got to have players that are self-motivated. You got to have players that are going to fit that type of coaching. So maybe that's part of it as well. But judging off of the way Alabama finished last year, they did a great job. And I don't think that at this point that there's that you have to have a lot of concern over the fact that there's only 5 guys. I think what you look at is, and I'm going to talk about this on tomorrow's show, but Bama's still in the running for all the players that they want. And as lists come out and signing days or announcement days come, that list is going to grow and more guys are going to end up at Alabama. But if they go out and they get the players that they definitely want and they win those battles, things are going to be just fine for the Crimson Tide. Hey, I want to tell you guys this before we change topics here, that we are really glad to be brought to you by Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. You guys have been watching a lot of golf, and I don't blame you. It's been fun. They have Dancing Rabbit Golf Course. It's the Augusta you can play. Fantastic courses. The Oaks, fantastic 18-hole course. The Azaleas, same thing. These are like multi-million-dollar courses. Grass is amazing. The scenery is great. You're going to go there and be blown away that, like, hey, this is in Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's the Augusta you can play. You don't need a membership. Take advantage of that. The sports book at the Timeout Sports at Golden Moon Casino, the Timeout Sports Lounge, somewhere else that you guys are going to want to check out. Definitely worth the trip. You don't have to go all the way to Vegas. Hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, 2 hours and change from Birmingham. And we appreciate those guys so much for being a part of what we do. Alabama topped the SEC in donations, and this was something that was definitely worth talking about. You talk about a very interesting nugget here, and let me throw this up. This is the graph right here. The percentage of the football program and what they made from private donations. And there's Alabama ahead of Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas. When I think of donations at Alabama, I always think back to Mal Moore. I was in school with Mal Moore. Coach Moore was in charge of the athletic department, and I started out at student radio. And it always amazed me that somehow he knew what we were doing on student radio. And I heard him telling Tim Brando one time, how impressed he was with us as student broadcasters. And I always liked Mal Moore for that. And then his vision to look at where the football program was, the facilities were, and not build up to the standard, but build by the standard. And of course, bringing in Nick Saban solidified him as the greatest athletic director ever. So when Greg Byrne goes out there and is trying to get donations, Alabama needs this, because when you talk about basically the way that things are right now, Bama's not going to be able to compete with Texas, Texas A&M, Tennessee that have billionaire donors if they don't go out there and get contributions from, obviously from private businesses and groups, right? So Bama having 32.8% of its 2024 revenue via donors tells you that Alabama fans, Alabama alumni are still bought into the program. Greg Byrne last year even went out and asked people right around Christmas, hey, look, we need some money to keep these players, to keep the NIL. It's one of those things where, you feel like you don't want to do it. People are kind of fed up with the way that the system is, and it hasn't even been going this way very long. But the bottom line is, this is the world that we live in now. And Greg Byrne goes out there, raises money. Football still generates money. We have a huge fan base, and to see that, to me, is a good thing for Alabama. Now, I think that, and I've said this for a long time, and spending my life in professional sports, Bama's got to get better at, and I know there's a lot of layers to this, and I'm not even going to sit here and talk about it all, on the show, because I don't think any of you guys really care. But at the end of the day, they've got to do a better job as a business when it comes to concessions, when it comes to game day experience, when it comes to bringing in 100,000 people into the stadium and that are potential customers. The products need to be better. They need to be easier access. They need to be less expensive, but try to sell more. And beers, for example, when I went to the 8A game, the scanners didn't work. And, and it's like, then I'm paying like $15 for a beer. I mean, it's way too much. They need to run it like a business. There needs to be professional people behind the scenes that are trying to maximize the POS opportunities, and then generate that money and put it back into the football program. And it's a different philosophy than going out there and hiring a company and basically saying, hey, you guys, you pay us this amount of money and you can do whatever you want. There's a lot of meat left on the bone. And it's not just Alabama, it's a lot of these universities. But when you go to an NFL game, you go to a Major League Baseball game, and you see how smoothly those operations run, there's a reason why they generate a lot more money. And that's just one area. I mean, Bama's got to be better at all of this stuff because they're competing in a different type of market right now than what we had in the past. So, that's kind of where things sit right now. But I'm really, really happy with you guys. Roll Tide, thank you for contributing to Alabama. I know some of you guys that are watching right now have been contributors for a long time, and maybe if it's not you, someone that you know. But that it takes all of that for Alabama to have success. Now, I want to give Greg Byrne, I want to give Coach Kalen DeBoer and everyone else a lot of credit on this final thing. And that's that Alabama ranked first in the SEC and second nationally in academic progress rate. I think this is just fantastic. Look, walking across the stage at Alabama when I graduated was one of the thrills of my life. It meant a lot to me. I was the first one to graduate. And I know many of you guys watching did graduate and some didn't, but you love Alabama the same. But it was just a goal that I'd set out for myself, that I wanted to graduate college, and then to get to graduate at Alabama was just perfect, right? And when these guys come in and play sports, some of them come from wealthy backgrounds, some of them come from middle class, some of them come from really poor backgrounds. But the one thing that you have in common is when you walk across that stage and they give you that certificate, there's an expectation that people will get by having that when they go for jobs and when they go for experiences. And then the other thing, and I sell this all the time, I got my nephew in Alabama now, you guys probably recognize him from the Tailgate show, is that Bama's a family. And when you run into other Bama people that are out in the world at different spots, and it happens all over the place, we take care of each other. So congratulations to those guys for not only coming to Alabama and being great football players, but for finishing as the top school. And they beat Harvard, which is amazing to me, right? The only school that beat Alabama was Ohio State. Harvard came in third, so that's pretty cool. This was the first year under Kalen DeBoer. It was 1 point higher than the 2022-2023 APR, which means Bama's definitely gone in the right direction. Auburn finished second in the SEC, Missouri third, and then there's LSU down at the bottom, which is honestly that's shameful for those Tigers. That's something that it's one thing to finish last in football, but to finish last and by far last in APR tells me that you're not dedicated to what you're supposed to be. It's not supposed to just be out there playing pro football. It's supposed to be going out there and learning and becoming a professional, maybe not in football, or even guys that I know like Mike Johnson that played in the NFL. You get out of that and then you got to go out in the real world. And, a lot of those things that you learn there are going to be with you for the rest of your life. So congratulations to those guys. It doesn't need to be discounted. It is a big deal. And Roll Tide. All right, well, this was a redo of the earlier show today, so thank you if you watched it twice. And for those of you that are watching it now, I appreciate it. We just wanted to get it right for you. Show's brought to you by Pearl River Resort. We appreciate them so much for being part of our show. Also, take advantage of our discount at New Life Art. I actually have for the underground bunker here, not my studio, but the bunker. I've got a Daniel Moore print, and it's going right here soon. So you'll be seeing that coming up with one of our good buddies on there. 20% off newlifeart.com, promo code Bama Tailgate. You do it when you first check in. Hey, where'd you hear about it? Bama Tailgate. And then when you check out, Bama Tailgate at checkout, 20% off. And we appreciate you for doing that. And Dancing Rabbit Golf Course, the Augusta you can play. Now's the time. Get over there without a membership. The Azaleas, the Oaks, two beautiful golf courses. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Roll Tide.
River Resort.